Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You all will kindly find way to a seat. Want to be sensitive to your time and to keep our show on the road, so to speak. The really good news is that it's not quite as bitter and cold as it has been, so we arranged a little better weather for you tonight. All courtesy of the association. So welcome to the annual membership meeting of the Lake Ridge Association. I'm Ron Yoho. I happen to have the honor of serving as the president of the association. And I thank you for taking time out of your schedule for coming to participate with us tonight. To expedite our proceedings, we're going to follow the same format we have for a couple of years. We're going to have information items in the hour from 7 to 8. And then the reasons that are lost in obscurity are founding documents require us to start the annual meeting at 8 p.m. And so we will start the official business meeting of the association at 8 p.m. at which time we will have business. But we can get a lot of good stuff to you out of the way before 8 o'clock, and we'll get to go home a little bit earlier. So with that out of the way, first of all, I'd like to recognize my fellow directors. So we have Janet Flick, our vice president, Mr. Aaron Sanchez, Mr. Treasurer, Ms. Michelle Basham, secretary, and then members John Mayer, Mr. Robert Malinowski, and Mr. Vincent Terciano, and they're all right here in the front. So I thank them for giving up some of their discretionary time and serving the association. And if it weren't for them, we would not be able to run the association. Next, I'd like to recognize and thank the members of the Architectural Committee. Mrs. Naomi Snell is the chair, Mr. Malik Jordan, Mr. William Chapman, Mr. Ben Ladigan, and Mr. Pemberton Gregory. Thank you for your service. And these are the ladies and gentlemen that consider your architectural requests and try to help keep things in line from an aesthetic point of view in Lake Ridge. One of the reasons Lake Ridge is such a nice place is because they look at what's going on and keep it within some boundaries while still serving you, the residents. Next, I'd like to recognize the Trails Committee. Mr. Neil Nelson, who is actually a candidate for the board tonight, is our chairman, and Mr. Jeff Witherell and Mr. Harry Wiggins are members of that committee. We'll say some more about trails in just a little bit. Then the Finance Committee is headed by our treasurer, Mr. Aaron Sanchez. And the members are on my page, so I can say it without trying to see the screen. Also a candidate for the board, Mr. Rolando Grimaldi, also a candidate for the board, and Ms. Mindy Mammon. Did that right? Okay, thank you for serving in that capacity. Obviously, we all care about dollars. So the Finance Committee is a very crucial part of our association functions. And then the climax of the evening is the election of new board members. And for that, we have to thank the nominating committee. Ms. Martha Nelson has been our chair this year, and she has been supported by members Mr. John Mayer and Mr. Michael Butler. So again, just reiterate that we thank these ladies and gentlemen for volunteering their time to serve the association. My next introduction, just to make sure you all can put a face with the name, Mr. Rick Elgis, our general manager, chief operating officer. He and a lot of the staff are here tonight, and we really, they're the things that make the trains run on time. Insofar as day-to-day operations, we're going to say some more about that a little bit later. And the last introduction I want to make, well, now's a good time. Our legal counsel is Amy Kessler, who is shy apparently and won't come up to the front to her assigned seat.
That's fine. Right next to
Ms. Kessler is a key part of our functions and giving us advice with respect to fulfilling our obligations according to the documents, staying in compliance with the state code of Virginia, and just overall general good advice.
Pardon.
And then I thought this was a great picture and I wanted to put it up. This is your team. This is the LRPRA staff.
This is great.
And these people here in that picture are working for you. And they're doing their thing every day of the week. And so we really, really appreciate them. So an overview of what we're gonna do tonight, I think is next. I want to just alert everyone to the fact that we are recording this meeting. And it will be available for helping us get the minutes exactly right. And I believe we will also post it on the website. Is that correct? So if you have a neighbor or somebody you know who did wasn't able to come to the meeting tonight, they can enjoy the same thing that they're doing right now, all they're in the comfort of their den or living room. Primary objective of the meeting, really the main core of the business, is to elect new directors. Our election is complete. And right now, I don't know any more about it than you do. The election results are known to the chair of the nominating committee and to our chief of administration and to legal counsel. And so the counting of the votes and all that is under their purview, as you all have already experienced. I'm sure most of you have voted. We have a company who does this professionally to do it on electronically, and that's the name of that company happens to be Get Quorum, which is a very, very apropos title for a company because that's what they do. They get quorum. And they have collected our votes and we will know more about that in about an hour.
Can I ask a question about the?
No, sir, you may not.
Okay.
I'm sorry. There'll be an open forum a little later in the meeting. We're privileged tonight to have as our guest speaker, Mr. Paul Lynch, and I think I have a slide for him. Yes, I do. So it doesn't look like, yeah, that's okay. Looking at a flat screen sideways is really not very informative. Anyway, Mr. Lynch is going to come speak to us for a few minutes, as you see his function in Prince William County. There are a lot of things in the life of Lake Ridge that are on the border, so to speak, or maybe they're on both sides of the border of the association and the county. And so we're privileged to have him come speak to us tonight. Sir.
Thank you, and I want to ask Mike O'Neill, who's the area chief, to come up with me and help field some questions if they come up.
Okay.
How did I get to be the assistant director of public works for code enforcement? Not for much longer. I'm retiring at the end of April. I've a little bit about me. I started in Fairfax County in 1985. I was very fortunate to rise through the ranks and run the resident inspection division for about 25 of those 28 years. Built a lot of houses in Fairfax County in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. And then I came to the city of Manassas after I retired from Fairfax and took a zoning and property maintenance position in the city of Manassas, 10 square miles, 2 years. I needed to jump off the island and I landed not too far down the street here in Prince William County. I cannot believe I've been at this for 12 and a half years. But it's time. So I will not be here speaking to you next year, but I look forward to speaking to you tonight. So the one thing that I want to make sure you all know is how to get in touch with the county now, not for just neighborhood service issues, but for parking issues, for police, some of the police issues. We've gone to PWC 311. I left about 25 of these documents on the table. Because I know you have some places that are problematic for parking commercial vehicles, parking on the street, parking wherever. You don't have to know which organization to call. The nice thing about this 311 system is it's alive for 24/7. You can talk to people during the day, you can leave a message at night, talk to a chat bot, if that's your thing. But the nice thing is, when we were told that we were gonna go this way, and this came from a lot of big cities in the country have had 311 systems. It was a little foreign to us. We have two ladies that spend their day answering phones, before the 311 system. I've talked to a lot of people over the years. Now our phones don't ring nearly as much. But we get the feed from the 311 system, and we had to invest a lot of time in service, what we call SR, service reports. And so when you call and say what your issue is, where you are, what the issue is, you can provide photographs, you can just give texts or messages or whatever. We need your name and number so we can get back in touch with you if we have questions. You know, Mike sends inspectors out to a house and there's some question, we have somebody to call back. And answer your questions. Your information is in confidence. Except in tall grass cases, if somebody wants to freedom of information on a tall grass case, we're gonna give you up. The law says we have to, but as far as, run of the mill property code or zoning complaints, we just need a complainant, but your information is kept in confidence. So. I talked to our friends in transportation. We basically share the same office and Richard Weinman. I asked him for sure, how do they get in touch with you? 311. They're plugged in as well. The police aren't totally plugged in, however, they get if you call and leave a parking case that belongs to them, they have enough information to get it to the parking enforcement folks or to the police central district. So that is good. So make sure you pick one of these up if you were so inclined. The other thing before I get too far down the rabbit hole is Neighborhood Services, Public Works hosts every year a conference in the end of the winter, and it's coming up in March, the 28th of March. So please plan on attending. If you have attended them in the past, it's an all-day event. We have lunch in the middle. You can call 792-7018 if you need any more information, and we'd love to see you there. We have a lot of attorneys coming and talking to HOA folks about how to do all sorts of things. That's free legal advice for a couple hours. We have a session on the life and the day in the life of a property code inspector, which is like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're gonna get sometimes. So they're very well attended, and we would look forward to seeing some of you at the meeting. 311 system has been live since May, so we're 9 months in. Since inception, we've received 2,068 complaints. It's probably gone up a few since this has been printed. We have closed about 1.9 thousand cases. Now, what kind of activity goes on in the district that you're in, the Occoquan district? This is it generates a lot of good charts and information. So this is a chart of the types of complaints countywide divided by the magisterial districts countywide. And I will say, it might feel like it's a lot going on here, but compared to other, you're in pretty good shape.
Relative.
So I will go through and sort of give you how do you rank in the county as far as tall grass and weeds. You guys need to practice on cutting your own grass a little more aggressively from time to time. You are 4 out of your the 7 magisterial districts for that. Trash, junk, and debris concerns. You're about 5th. And usually those are trash. In a community like this, they're usually trash cans in the front yard, not garbage all over the place. But those are complaints. Quite frankly, between you, me, and the fence post, trash cans in the front yard being a violation is a real problem for townhouses, and I feel for you, because sometimes you don't have any good options. You just don't have anywhere to put your trash can, so I'm not a big fan of that zoning ordinance, but it is what it is, so in the side yard or in the backyard. And then some of these communities where you have a garage, put your trash can in the garage. Doesn't smell so good in August, but that's a choice. Accessory structures, approvals issues, so those would be sheds and things like that, most likely zoning, sheds put in with no zoning approval, or shed got put in, is too close to the setback, has to be moved, and all that kind of thing. Not very much at all. Poor old Woodbridge, they've got half of the load at Woodbridge. Interior building maintenance issues. Surprisingly, you're tied with Woodbridge for that. I don't know what that means. Because your architectural review board, I think, is outside, right? You don't go inside, so I don't know what that's about. I was curious. Reports of abandoned or inoperative vehicles, there we go. You're right in the hunt, you're tied it's about a 4-way tie. So there's a lot of company with that. It is a commuting community, whether we like it or not. There are more cars than there are people just about, and I don't see it getting any better. It's just gonna be something this community is gonna have to wrestle with. Report unpermitted home businesses. You all are well in the middle, and if not in the back end of that race. Reporting illegal parking on grass or dirt. Hardly a blip. I asked who I could issue the violation for. Parked on the grass, so it'll be coming tomorrow, sir. And then exterior building maintenance issues. Thank you, Architectural Review Committee and folks that keep your community clean and healthy. You have some, but not much. Overcrowding concerns. Not very many. I know there'll probably be some questions about overcrowding in our methodology, but you don't. Compared to the rest of the world, you don't have that much comparatively. Or at least you're not complaining about it. Maybe you've given up, I don't know. Outdoor storage issues. Hardly a sliver. Land disturbance. Don't have very many, but the ones you have on the Occoquan are very problematic. If you live on the Occoquan, know where your RPAs are, know where your boundaries are, know where Fairfax County is, and don't cut trees down or bushes without asking a lot of questions ahead of time. Just had a big meeting last week. A lot of people on the call, a lot of interest about that. And my position is there are about 3 different kinds of folks that run into trouble with that. The ones that have the property don't ask the questions because they don't know they're creating a problem until they've created a hell of a problem for themselves, a very expensive problem. And then there are ones that are maybe investors, flippers, and they're gonna go in, do the work fast, sell it, and hope for the best. And then there are people that just wanna have a view, and they don't care how much it costs. My advice to that group was, when we get involved with that, we've already failed. So hopefully this committee of the Occoquan are gonna do a lot more upfront notifications to the people that live on the water. To at least educate you, so if you do cut them down, we know that you're either a flipper or just want your way, and you're gonna pay. I worked in Fairfax County, a lot of rich people living on the Potomac River, and they were willing to pay lots of money to see that view. That's to the detriment of the landscape. Report graffiti. Not not very much, or, if there is graffiti, thank you, you're taking care of it. Graffiti gets more graffiti, and if you see graffiti, report graffiti and get rid of it. Cause it doesn't get better with time. And then street light inquiries. If you have street light inquiries, use 311, that goes to transportation and they will take care of your issue. You all run your own street lights
We're
or?
good at combinations, it's complicated.
Yeah, call 311, leave us out of it. So that's just sort of a general report of what's going on and how you stack up. You're in really good shape countywide, and I applaud you. I think HOAs have a huge role. A lot of people love living in HOAs, a lot of people don't. It's obvious that you have one here, and it's beautiful here, and you should be proud of your community. And thank you all for being stellar super citizens managing your community, because it does make a difference. So I'm gonna open up the floor. If you have questions about or concerns about what I just talked about or things that I didn't talk about. Yes, ma'am, first.
Well, I have two questions. One, what was the date for that event again?
28th March,
March 28th.
all day.
Okay.
Starts early and
It's
and
great.
it's probably gonna run a little longer this year because we have so many speakers and a lot of interest.
Okay, March 28th.
Yeah,
then-
lunch is provided, you have, there's a little, you have to pay for lunch, no free lunches, but it's, I think it's worth it.
Thank you. And then the second question is the stats that you read, is that publicly available information? And if so, how could we review that?
This report is not
Okay.
public information. If you have a freedom of information request and want it, we can, and it's free.
Okay.
We can get you as much as we can. I mean, there's nothing secret. I don't think it's been publicized. Now, there is information that you can see if you get an account. So I would encourage you to sign up for an account and see what you can see there. But if you have specific questions, certainly you can call our office.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
Would you define what overcrowding is? Are you talking about people that are not related living in the same town? What are you talking about?
No, I don't want to answer that question. And the relatedness is a road to trouble.
Well, you need to
Because-
elaborate.
Yes, it's a road to trouble because we could be husband and wife today.
Yeah.
Right.
You and I could be, husband and wife. So we can't go in asking for DNA. We can't go in and asking how related are you and prove it. That's not the county that we live in. It's much easier to work overcrowding cases through arithmetic. You have square footage of the house and you have number of people. The thing you have to appreciate about overcrowding is we do not count children.
Mhm.
Yeah, because if you did, you decide to separate the family. See how we like that. And that's not gonna happen. So if you're a child, they don't count. And depending on the size of the house, that math works out, you can have quite a load. Now, what we don't tolerate is people that are generally landlords, very bad landlords, and they divide up the house, so you have outdoor locks on every door in the house, up and down. They take the stairs out of the basement, so you have an apartment in the basement, an apartment upstairs, and an apartment on the third floor. That, when we run into those, that's easy. That's no longer a single family dwelling. That's just a code violation. So we're much more effective and much more on solid ground of working cases like that. So the number of people that are allowed are based on the square footage of the house and the number of people,
Not the number of bedrooms.
not the number of bedrooms. No. Townhouses can't have, they're not supposed to have second kitchens in the basement.
Only for townhouses?
We're only for you know, our zoning laws are a little bit of some of the problem for affordable housing. And I think that we're gonna see some movement towards that, allowing it for better or for worse. Arlington's doing it, other jurisdictions are doing it because housing is not affordable. There are social costs for doing things like that. We become much more dense. I think we have a parking problem now, you know, if that happens, we'll have it later. Truth be known, we have had people living in sheds within a mile from here. You know, people.
With electric light, I mean,
Yeah, so it's really sad. When I worked in the city of Manassas, I was in a townhouse community. I opened up the closet under the stairs and literally woke somebody up that was his $250 room. That's sad. But it's better, I guess, for them than living out in the truck or in the woods.
Mhm.
And we do have a homeless population in the county, and the numbers they're there. We see them, but we work with them often through a system of police, homeless services, and us. The way we work those cases from a zoning and property maintenance case is we work it as a litter refuse case. And if you own the property, we're gonna call you up and say, you have a problem. And my suggestion is you contact the police and homeless services and ask that they support you in your effort to post the property, put a no trespassing out, because if they stay, we're gonna be best friends for as long as they're there, because we're gonna be on you about litter on your property from now until it's not. So that's the method that we use. It's been fairly effective, but it takes a while. It takes a couple, 3 months if everybody's doing what they're supposed to do to clear those. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. So when you know that there might be two families in a one family dwelling, especially in a townhouse, how are you allowed to get in there?
Well, that's the big challenge, because you're gonna open the door and say, come on in. If you're the owner, probably not. But people do let us in. Usually it's when they've fallen out of love with each other. They're on the way out, they're getting kicked out, they call us, and we're on the in, we see what we see. Or, and obviously if you're a teenager and you say, come in, thank you, no, thank you. You know, so you have to be an adult and you have to be in a position to have sway over the property.
Right.
And if it's one of these boarding houses where it's room by room and that's your room, the only way we can get into that house with your permission is to go with you from the door to your room, but you can't take us in, show us around the rest of the property. So it's very litigious.
we have the same Fourth Amendment, you know, rules of which.
Yeah, I was just wondering about.
Yeah, but that's, you know, that's a big challenge is getting. Are we out of time?
Got time for a couple more questions, if there's something on your mind. Been very informative from my point of view.
Yes, yeah.
It's been very helpful to me. You haven't asked really hard questions.
Yeah.
I think they have been helpful to you. I hope we see many of you at our conference. It's our pleasure to have been here. Again,
2 years there.
call my office and you have a specific question or somebody that knows about your community, Mike O'Neill is your guy. I'm happy to help until the end of April.
One more question, the location of the conference on the 28th.
It is at the 5-county complex court.
County.
I'll
Very
send the
far.
information after the board, but we get the flyer every year.
Yeah, Kathy Holzlander puts on a good show.
And I can say I've been to a number of them and they're very informative, especially the new board members.
I knew I'd seen you before.
All right, last call, out here, any questions? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Have a good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We're ready for another highlight of the evening. You're about, you're out. Turn it over to Mr. Sanchez. Yes, I can have it. Finally, the party, you can go faster.
Yeah.
I can see that, I don't understand back there, you can't see anything. My name is Aaron Sanchez. I've been the treasurer for the last year. And I'd say that the financial status of the association is in good shape and in good hands. One of the things that you have to focus on when you're putting together a budget is you gotta make sure that you have direction, have control, and you have oversight. By developing a thorough, good budget, we know all the line items, the directors developed them. They brief the COO, GM, and his staff. And after a couple of drafts, they send it over to the finance committee to review along with them. And we have been very thorough in going over those budgets so that when we come to the last stage of working a budget, we have the necessary information to see it and oversee that it's being spent properly. And the line items are in line. Every 2 months. Every 2 months, we have a review of the line items for the financial report out of the GM. And we also review our investments. And that's done in jointly with Nick and the finance committee. So we've got direction, and then we have the budget. We've got control. We know how much each one of those guys are supposed to be spending. If there's any deviations beyond $10,000 or 10% of the total sum, we question it. And Nick has been very good at providing answers for those issues that we see. So having said that, let's take a look at what we propose to do. Here's an outline of the topics I want to cover tonight. We'll take a look at the FY26 highlights, the budget over the last 3 years. Our investments are sitting with Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, the reserve accounts. And take a look at the reserve study that we are planning for 27. Normally, the reserve study is directed to be held or conducted every 5 years. We do it every 3 years. And then we have a financial audit ongoing now, and running a little bit late because the main person doing the audit was ill for 2 weeks here in January. But we do expect to have the draft audit for our March review. And finally, believe it or not, it's time to start developing another budget. And we'll start that. We'll take a look at the schedule we have in place for that. Highlights, the assessments we were able to hold to less than 2%. In fact, 1.93%. The assessment increase was limited to $3.15 per quarter, or for a total of $12.60 for the course of the year. So by thoroughly reviewing those line items, and there's 26 line items, pretty detailed information with supporting documentation to support them. We're able to come up and hit our goal of keeping it as low as possible, so as to ease the burden on the homeowner. The audit last year recommended that we formalize a new investment policy, and we have focused on safety, liquidity, and yield. We'll take a look at our investments with Morgan Stanley. But first, let's take a look at the budgets over the last 3 years. You can see a growth in both the income and expense over the course of those years. And our reserve transfers are part of the expense items that we end up having to pay for out of that investment income. And this year, we're putting down 1.44469 into the reserve account. in total reserves in total. And as you can see, the totals out to 8.6.
Did that be in communication with Epstein? There is already one.
Thank you. Investment policy. This is the one where we want to make sure it's safe and stable. Don't want to be playing with our money as an association. So the thought is no speculation, focus on low risk, liquidity and yield. And by doing that, we're able to meet any emergency needs for the monies. Or if we have some capital repairs that we have to do. Yield, we are limited in it, in our policy. We want to make sure that the investments we make have the full faith and credit of the United States. And that limits us to treasuries, government bonds, FDIC insured CDs, which are yielding good money, and we'll see what we get here over the course of a year, projected to get over the course of the next year. We have professional oversight, as I said. Not only does our general manager review it, we do it at the finance committee on a bi-monthly basis. It's transparent in that the money is overseen, the accounts are overseen by me and Ron. In addition to the finance committee, I share those investment accounts during that particular meeting. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, they've been doing fairly well for us. This year we have, well, not this year, since its inception, we have 4 accounts. One for the association reserve, one for the operating reserve. You can see the monies associated with them. One for the subdivision reserves, and another one for a capital improvement fund in case we want to invest into a new amenity for the association. So we have seed money in there to start. Thus far, our monies in the Morgan Stanley 13,014,000, what's that, $531. So that's where the money is. That's how much we have. Here's a projection of what we anticipate getting this year based on those investments. Pretty well up and down a little bit just because of the timing of our investments. However, if you look at the bottom line there, or I should say the top line, we're projected to have approximately $437,000 in earnings this year. How has it done historically? Not bad at all. You can see the light blue on the bottom is the investments that we have made, and they sum out to be $11.4 million. The little lighter blue that you see on it, right on top of it, are the earnings, giving us the total value of the accounts of $13 million. So what has that earned us over the course? Oops, somehow I'm missing. Here we go. 1.5 mil over 2.5 years. Pretty good increase in our investments. And that's one of the reasons I say the association is in very good financial shape at this point in time. We wish to keep it that way. Our reserve study. We expect to start soliciting bids this fall. In that the last study was completed in May 24. We want to have it completed next year in 27. So this fall we'll start the bids for them so that we can start that reserve study next year. Keeping in mind that they provide us a good financial, I put a plan up there, but it's actually better stated as a path so that we can keep the association property in good repair. In 25, we put in 640,000.9 into the association reserve. And this year we're proposing to put in nearly $450,000 plus an additional $50,000 from a reserve account to, which we did, to keep the dues as low as possible for the homeowners in the association. So we're drawing down a little bit of the reserves to make it $500,000 investment this year in total. Subdivisions, pretty much constant. Audit in progress, we're a little bit behind. Still the same company that did it last year. We anticipate getting it by our March 4th or 6th, fourth finance committee meetings. And then we'll review it, forward it to the board for their review as well at the subsequent meeting in March. And once we sign the representation letter, we'll post it online. That representation letter has either me, Ron, or Nick sign that, hey, we provided all the information for it, and this is a true representation of where we stand. Audit results. They're reviewing last year's, and keep in mind that our fiscal year runs from August to the end of August to the beginning of September. Hopefully we can anticipate that the results will be the same. That is, last year they noted that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position, and that operations and cash flows ended in conformity with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States. 2027 budget development. We'll start the real in-depth analysis the first couple of weeks of March, where Nick and his directors will sit together, review the previous expenses, analyze them, and document them so that they can begin the development of their particular aspect of the budget. They should be able to draft their first budget estimate by March 19th. They'll brief it, review it with Nick and his operations people. And based on whatever feedback they get, update it for a second draft, the 23rd, a couple of days later, because time flies during that time. And take it over to the finance committee. The COO will take it down to the finance committee. We'll review it on March 25th. Typically 3 weeks later. And then last year we had quite an in-depth review and we ended up making a couple of adjustments, but 3 weeks should give us sufficient time to go from that first budget review to the second, finalize it at that point in time. For a budget town hall meeting at the end of April. And submitted for board approval on May 12th.
Thank you, Aaron. Super top. So it's customary for the president to report to you folks. I like to do it in a more of a visual way, so I have some pictures and charts to show you. But the first thing we're going to do is recognize a departing board member who has chosen to withdraw from the arena, at least for a time. And Mrs. Janet Foote has served with us for a long time on the board. And so Janet, I would invite you to come up. And I'll have a memento for you to commemorate your service on the board.
Thank you.
And let's turn around like that. And, I appreciate everything. She's taught me a lot.
That's beautiful.
She's been a big help. I know where she lives.
May I say something?
You may say something.
It's been absolutely an honor to have been chosen by the community to serve you, and I have learned as much as I hope I have given back. So I would encourage any of you sitting in this audience who are interested in a homeowners association, lend your talent. The community is full of people with immense talent, wide talent, and intellect. So share them with you, you'll grow. And you'll appreciate the community you live in. It's those kind of people like up here and sitting up here that make the difference in your community. It doesn't just happen. Thank you.
I also want to recognize Miss Michelle Basham, who isn't with us tonight, but she has served as secretary this past year. And she also has elected to not continue stand for re-election to the board, but she has served as well. And I just want to point out, give her name recognition tonight for her service to the association as well. So I'm going to pick up speed now. And I'm not going to read these things to you, and we'll try to be as clear as possible. We want to get ready for our 8 o'clock. So here we go. Who are we? There are some statistics. This will all be posted. You can have all this at your fingertips, so you don't have to take notes. There is no quiz at the end, but these are things that are pretty interesting about the association. And if any of you come to the annual meeting before, you've already heard them, but maybe you're new to the annual meeting. So we're telling you some basic facts about the board, about the governance of the association. And we have some fairly significant distinctives. We're the second largest HOA in Virginia. We're one of the oldest in the country. And we have 72, 79 units. We have one of the largest expanses of common area compared to many associations. Some really some basic facts. If you have insomnia, you can you can digest this chart at length. But those are some that we have three big classes of residences: single family, townhomes, and condominiums. And then we have apartment homes, and we have commercial properties. So that's who makes up Lake Ridge. Amenities are the hallmark of Lake Ridge. I think that's hopefully something we can all agree in. So I've got some GWIS pictures there. We are really fortunate to have the things we have. So just want to sort of emphasize that point. One of our big accomplishments during the past year was a renovation refurbishment of the Tall Oak Pool. One of the two biggest pools right out back, as a matter of fact, right? We're at Tall Oaks. I have to stop and think where I am. So that's a major operation to refurbish and renovate the pool. That is one of the things, by the way, that corresponds to what Aaron talked about. That's how we spend reserve dollars. Reserve dollars are meant to keep things up to date, up to par. Trails, we've continued to make good progress on the trail system in cooperation with the county. And that's a picture of a bridge that's new since last year. Keep extending the trails. I think we have a couple more segments done than we did last year. I know that is one of the most popular attractions in Lake Ridge. Okay, let me say a couple things about association functions and our organization. So this is not strictly, it's not an organization chart. It's more of a function chart or a how we work chart. And so I want to make just a couple of comments about each of the areas that are on this chart. So the first, see that the top of the chart was headed by the general manager, chief operating officer. And so he keeps the trains running on time, oversees, encourages, cheerleads the staff who do all the grunt work, all the hands-on work. But in terms of things that he is more personally responsible for or takes on himself. One of them is, I, for the sake of a label, I've called it the community engagement function. And so he started the face of the association many times and interacting with the community. And one of the things that we started doing is this idea of lunch with Lake Ridge. So you can see that's on the chart. We'll say a little bit more about that at the end of this presentation. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight, which I hope you're all familiar with, is our magazine. And that really falls right under Nick's purview. He has a staff member who really honchos that. And we just, within the last issue or so, we've got it's digitally available now, if I believe, if I recall my facts, so.
It is digitally available.
So we're really proud of the magazine. Okay, let's talk about the function of administration. If you walk into the office, that's your picture, that's what you see. I think one of the most amazing things to associate with administration is that in the 12-month period or the fiscal year 24-25, there were 2,200 people physically showed up in that picture or at that desk. And our staff handled them, served them. A lot of that's recreation, a lot of it's getting pool passes, or pool registration or whatever, reserving community centers, all that kind of thing. That's what rec does. So we really appreciate them. Or excuse me, administration, overseeing the folks that come in to get service. I cannot urge you more strongly to take advantage of the things that are available under the administration of the association. So you see those items there on the slide. If you're not registered to get our digital communication, get your email, if your email's not in our file, please get it in so we can communicate with you, tell you things that are happening in between the magazines, week to week, so you know what's going on. You can also do the very practical things associated with assessments and that sort of thing. What is administration doing in the background? Where we're continuing to improve our cloud-based computing, so we have access to our data. We can run the association even if we have bad weather. I just emphasized email addresses. We have made phenomenal progress in getting our folks, you folks, plugged in. So we have 6927 addresses on file out of 7279 properties, and that is really remarkable. My hats off to the staff for encouraging. And if you're one of that last 300 and something, let us know. Get it in there so we can talk to you too digitally. If you sign on to Lake Ridge, the portal, lakeridge.va.com, this is what you're going to see. You can't read it on the screen. I apologize for that. We took a screenshot, but that's the front page of what you're going to see from our software. Okay, let's talk about operations for just a minute. The operations function is responsible for the things you see there on the slide. More than a full-time job, lots of things. We have about 50 employees, right, Nick, or so. So managing our human resources, which is one of our most important resources, if not the most important, that's a big deal. Those folks like to get paid, so payroll falls under here. If we have to fill a position, that's who takes care of going out for the candidates. They take care of our insurance policies. They oversee the IT and the tech support. It's operating, it's functioning, it's running the household of Lake Ridge, just like you run a household in your at your home. Okay, we can be really brief here. We heard a lot from finance already. Aaron mentioned the assessment increase was we tried to minimize it. I might add one editorial comment that the assessment increase was far below the consumer price index increase and the rate of everything else. So we continue to do our best to use your dollars wisely. Okay, recreation. Probably the most visible function of the association. Yard sale. Get rid of your stuff. Let somebody else take it home. Swim lessons, ever popular. Adult kickball league, I think we're down, I think our third year, Laura, or so, and big hit, wish we had thought of it years ago, right? Great idea. The preschool, yep, preschool, great staff, see that? This was a field day or an outside recreation day. In case you are as puzzled by that picture as I was for a long time, till I got somebody to explain it to me. The lady in the front's taking a selfie. I thought she was trying to show me her tattoo. You tell what generation I'm in. I have no idea. Appreciation for selfies. Okay, maintenance department. Jack of all trades, do everything, take care of us. The most visible part, of course, is our landscaping. Beautiful, landscaping, especially spring and fall. They keep it going during the summer. You'll see the watering going on. They support the pools. So we have a pool management company. They do the lifeguards and they do things like that. But in the background, the maintenance department is out there doing some heavy lifting behind the scenes on the pools. They oversee things like the Tall Oaks pool renovation. That was overseen by the maintenance department. Tot lots, repairs, maintenance, mulch, fantasy playground. And of course, the community centers are maintained. Really pretty attractive facilities that we have the privilege to use. Governance department, pretty familiar to most of us. This is where you get your adjustments to your property, for the lack of a better word, approved. You can see some of the major activities. One of the innovations or improvements that we're doing is thanks to the staff, not much of we, mostly the staff. We're going to better publicize the cycle of going through looking at the neighborhoods. And it feels like we're looking for stuff and we're trying to get you, but we're not. We're trying to make Lake Ridge, keep the Lake Ridge as attractive as possible. And for the most part, if you get a letter, you can help me with my terminology here, but if you get a communication from the covenants department, first communication is an advisory. We're not trying to whack you with telling you you're in violation immediately. We want you to know, sometimes I have been surprised to walk around the back of my house in March or April after I haven't been outside much and find out that I needed to power wash my siding. I just didn't notice it. So those are the kinds of things that the governor's department may well be letting you know in case you don't notice. Important point on this slide is that if the covenants folks are in the neighborhood, they're gonna be identifiable. They're gonna have on a badge, they're gonna have on a uniform, shirt. They're gonna be identified as Lake Ridge. And so, you can identify them. You don't have to worry about it to know who they are. And if they're not identified that way, then it's not Lake Ridge, it's somebody else to looking over things, and that you might want to pay more attention to that. Okay, I'm gonna transition to just some wrap up miscellaneous observations. Thanks to some realtor friends of the association, realtors who do business in Lake Ridge, they provided us some data, which I thought was extremely interesting. It's on the screen, you can see it. So that's good news for the association. Again, a lot of that has to do, or we can go back to the way Lake Ridge looks, our amenities, the function and the effectiveness of the association. That's what makes property values appreciated in Lake Ridge above the Northern Virginia average. Try to buy a house, that kind of appreciation is not as good news. But for those of us who are here and own a home, that's pretty good news. The next miscellaneous item I want to highlight is that this past summer, we had the privilege of hosting a professional organization called the Community Association Professional Managers. And every year they do training for the folks like Nick and his staff who are aspiring to become managers in a homeowners association. And they use associations as case studies to train their people. And so anyway, we had the opportunity to host those folks, and you can see the picture there. And so they spent 3 days, 2.5 days, something like that, scrutinizing us down to the nth degree, asking questions, learning the association, and finding out how we do things. So they got trained, or they got insight into how associations work. The benefit to us was that the reports they wrote, the top ones were provided to us, and so we're working through those, and there may be some good ideas in there, the things they know from their experience, or things that they observed about how we're doing things that we're too close to. It's our home. We're the ones who are doing it. So we might not see something that a more outside observer. So we got something out of it, or we're getting something out of being the host for that. And above all things, we got visibility. We were recognized for being very well managed association. And then another little miscellaneous information. I think you possibly have seen these on the table in the back. There are 3 new ways that owners can make submissions to the board. So there's some forms back there. Won't belabor that point, but you can take a look at those on your way out tonight, or grab one. Those are going to be on the website so that you can specifically target a certain kind of thing that you want to look at. So the big areas, or the common area, something you want to say about common area, something you want to say about policy, and something that you want to say about stock. I'll leave it at that. We're not encouraging you to help inspect your neighbors, but if you do need to say something, there's a way to get it into the association. And so I'm gonna cap this off with looking forward. You see some items there. We've already talked about the Ask Us Anything and lunch with Lake Ridge, but there's also a teen job fair coming up, our Easter function, and we said we saw the picture at the spring yard sale, so it's a chance to share your treasures with the community, and maybe take home a couple extra dollars in the doing. So with that, we are going to take a very short break. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hereby call to order the 54th annual meeting of the Lake Ridge Parks and Recreation Association. Our first order of business is I call upon Mr. McNuggets to report on the status of work.
We have a chief court, 1,128 lots, single family lots, or class A lots that have voted, as well as the required class B and class C votes as far as our commercial.
All right, with the quorum, that means we can proceed to accomplish business. Our first order of business is to consider the minutes of the last annual meeting. Copies of the last annual meeting minutes have been distributed as you entered. And so I will now entertain a motion from one of you members to approve the minutes.
I move that we accept the meetings from 2020.
I have a motion to approve the minutes from 2025. Do I have a second?
Second.
I got a lot of seconds. All right. Let's give Mr. John Mayer credit for that second, Jeff. Are there any discussion or question? Is there any discussion about the minutes? You had a chance to look them over? Hearing none, in that case, all in favor of approving the minutes of the 2025 annual meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion carries. All right, at this time, it's my pleasure to call upon Ms. Martha Nelson to present for the nominating committee.
Thank you, Ron. I'd like to thank John Mayer and Michael Butler for their service on the nominating committee this year. The nominating committee received 10 applications for the board of directors election this year. And upon review, the nominating committee placed in nomination the following candidates: Devin Adams, Theo Asamoah, Jacob Belmar, Philip Botwinnik, Rolando Grimaldi, Renata Grooms, Robert Malinowski, Aaron Mosher, Neil Nelson, and Audra Skiba.
Thanks, Martha. Okay, according to our bylaws, there's an opportunity at the annual meeting to receive nominations for director from the floor. And so at this point, I will open the floor for nominations for director. Hearing none, I declare that nominations are closed. And we have now accomplished that particular piece, and we will move to an opportunity for our open forum in which members may express anything that's on their mind. I want to remind you that we can't take action on any particular item. I'm going to ask you to please limit your comments to 3 minutes so that as many people as possible will all have an opportunity to speak. So we won't give immediate reactions. There are forms available on the table as you came in, and you may have taken one, that you could submit a question. If you haven't done that and would like one, raise your hand and one of the staff members will get you a form. So you can put your question in writing, or you can just simply ask your question or make your comment. It doesn't have to be a question. We do ask you to please state your name and address and tell us what is on your mind. And so, sir, I know you're anxious.
I'm Craig Pritzker. I live at 12892 Valleywood Drive. I've lived in Lake Ridge since 1990, and I love living here. Last year, the board extended the pools past Labor Day, and I'd like the board to consider doing that again this year. It was very successful, and if we could keep 1 or 2 pools open on the weekends for 2 weeks after Labor Day, it would be great. That's all I want to say.
Thanks, Craig. Another member, I see another hand, sir.
Chalmers Hood, 12317 Oakwood. We've lived here since 72, off and on, more on than off. 2 things. I get a feeling that for money purposes or modernization purposes, you want to get out of publishing the magazine. The magazine as it is fabulous. And I want to make sure that things are included, like Mr. Mayor's comment on wildlife and environment, Brody's comments, his comments on our properties, and Laura's stuff on recreation, which is essential. It's much easier to read it in print than it is trying to scroll it by on the screen. So keep it alive and get those department heads in there a lot talking, because that way we really know what's going on. And I back that comment about the pools being open longer. Good plan.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Craig.
Can I know that you put out a survey asking if people wanted to keep the pools open. My question is, how many people responded? What percent, and what were the results of that?
We'll report on that.
That will be in the next issue of the magazine.
Okay.
And I'm gonna break my own rule and make a comment about your comment, sir. There's no implication of getting away from the magazine in print. And we have a great deal. The association, in cooperation with the publisher of that magazine, they are a profit organization. They sell the advertising. We provide the content. The magazine is essentially free to us. And so we wouldn't mess with that. So I broke my own rule. I apologize. Another member, anything else? Sir.
My name is Chris Berry, live in Lake Ridge.
I think it's important that we recognize the people who serve us here in Lake Ridge, and particularly, I think it's important to recognize them when they are leaving the board, having been on the board for some time. And particularly, I'm talking about Ms. Janet First. She, as you heard, has been on the board for 15 years, but she was working as a volunteer for Lake Ridge for years before that. It's just amazing the amount of time that she has devoted to us, the Lake Ridge resident. If you had ever attended a board meeting any time in the last 15 years, you would have seen Janet. Probably Janet would have been there at that meeting. It's an amazing accomplishment. And we need to recognize that. And we gave her a memento. I just would like to tell you just a couple of things about Janet's accomplishment, because it hasn't been mentioned tonight. And she has been responsible, along with other board members, for bringing financial controls into the way the board operates. Let me just give you a couple of examples. We used to have in our investments were in equities, they were in mutual funds, they were driven by trying to get high dividend rates. Well, as you know, if the more dividend you get, the higher the risk. And our auditor told us not to do that, but we ignored him. And the Community Associations Institute says, do not invest your reserves in anything except those which are supported by the government. So Janet, along with other members of the board, revised that so that now all of our investments are written by the US government. They are safeguarding those funds. That's one thing. It used to be that the general manager could issue contracts for any amount. Janet was on the board imposed a limit on to what the general manager could authorize, and that was 100K. And so now we have a financial control. If anything is over 100K, it has to go to the board for approval.
How was your signal, Chris? Can you wrap it up for me?
Well, I'm gonna wrap it up, but I think Janet deserves a minute or two. I think that I think what I'd like to say is that Janet, you've done a fantastic job. I can, in words, summarize your 15 years of service to us. But it's been profound and we benefit from it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. Another member perhaps, anybody? Ma'am, over in the white.
Hi, everybody, Rachel Cruz, 11818 Clinton Circle. I just wanted to make a statement that I have been very impressed with the communication that has been coming out lately from the association. Nick has done a fantastic job keeping us up to date with how things have been going, especially with the snow removal, trash pickup and things like that. And I just really am impressed with how we've been kept informed recently, so thank you.
We love those kind of comments.
Thank you.
Put everybody's information together. It is the entire team getting that communication.
Thank you also for the coyote issue.
I see another hand.
So count me, I'm at 11856 Antietam. Count me as a third for the pool. Like most of you here, my home is my #1 asset, and I'm planning to have that be a foundational piece as one of my kids. As most of you know that have been to some board meetings, I have an issue next door and it's just so painful to know that the value of my house is going down by the situation next door. And I'm just imploring you to like keep applying the pressure.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am,
Christina Trotter, 12710 Dulcinea Place. I have been in Lake Ridge since what, 1996. I don't know if this is the forum to bring this up in. I do appreciate the information that was disseminated to everyone when the snow came. But I was a little dismayed by the way that the removal of the snow. I've been here 20 years and I believe the last snow we had, the big snow was in 2010. And it was just phenomenal, the way that they took the snow away. I think they used bobcats to get away the stuff, to remove the snow. So I'm just asking that, I don't know if it's staff or, I'm sure it's not money by seeing the budget, that there would be a more efficient way of removing the snow, because there are a lot of people that live in my area that are seniors, and when they, we help them dig out, but then they come back and push the snow back, and then, somebody has to help them to remove that snow. So I'm asking that, you all will take that into consideration.
yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Karen, 127 Senior. Just asking for more lighting because in years past, my daughter's car was broken in too because our end on Dulcinea around the cul-de-sac is darker than the other side. So could you all please consider, because when I did call during that time, I got the runaround. Lake Ridge was saying that it was VDOT. And the county was saying, no, that's the property in Lake Ridge. So I hope you all can come together with the county and just light up the area because there's a lot of women getting off late. And when I look out my window and see them, and then you see strange people hanging around, that's a big concern.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
last year on 4th of July, my neighbor Mike, who normally keeps up with this, he was out of town. But when the people did the 4th of July fireworks, months after that, the trash was still there and no one cleaned it up.
Okay, thanks for that input. If I didn't say it at the beginning, I don't know for sure. All the things that you mentioned, we will give you positive feedback on what, if there's anything we can say that will eliminate the point you brought to us. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Yes, Tommy Park, 3186 Harvard Street. My favorite topic for you guys, and I'll put together whatever I need to put together and petitions or whatever. I really hope that there's a way we can consider getting new mailbox there on Harvard Street. The thing is 30-something years old. It's broken. It's been broken for now almost a year. And I see you were able to put one over by Yale Court, so it's time, it's well past time. Again, I will go through, I'll use your forms. I'm gonna go through, find people who are owners that use that box, draw a petition, do whatever, but it's time to get in the box.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all very much for your input. At this point, I want to move to the next item on the agenda. It is my responsibility to announce to you the appointment of the nominating committee for next year. The board has appointed the following to serve as the 2026 nominating committee. They served during 2026. It's for the 2027 election. And those members are Mr. Vincent Terciano as chairman, Ms. Rashonda Daniels Atkinson, and Ms. Janet Foote are the members of the nominating committee. So I'll thank them in advance. With that, we'll now come back to the start of our show. Ms. Nelson, who will report the result of the election.
I want to thank all of our candidates this year for their willingness to serve and for your involvement in our community. And I encourage each of you to continue to be involved in our community. As chairman of the 2025 nominating committee, I've received the tabulation of votes made, and the following candidates were elected: Aaron Mosher, Devin Adams, and Neil Nelson.
All right. Congratulations to our newly elected directors. And we're looking forward to your service and your contributions. And with that, the highlight of the evening from my point of view is that I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Awesome.
Okay, I have a motion to adjourn. I have a second.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.